They were rampaging along, won their first 2 games. They've lost their last 2, but they could have probably won both of them.
A fantastic looking facility there in the deep south.
I'm sure they're going to come out firing tonight.
From memory, he was leading last week. Are you going to be leading this week, or?
From bottom with 6 points and second from bottom with 3. Yes and no. Yes and no. It paid off for them. They got a 2, double the 4 and won 6 points. Depends what the teams above you do, doesn't it? Welcome to the Bowls Hour, brought to you by Somerset Retirement Villages and Dynasty Apparel. This is the official Bowls New Zealand podcast where we talk everything bowls. On the show today, we're going to be talking to Tony Grantham, Bev Morrell, Selena Goddard and Chelsea Farley. I'm joined now by my co-host, Alex Reid. Lovely to see you, Alex.
Thank you, Miles. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. We're sort of fresh off the back of our Somerset Nationals, 9 days of bowls. I was in the chat room, so I was a bit tired after that, but I'm ready to go for this podcast.
So basically, you haven't had a holiday yet?
Well, you could put it that way. I had a day off, which was nice.
Oh, there you are. Don't strain yourself.
Yeah, I won't. And the podcast will be good. So, yeah, Tony Grantham today. I'm looking forward to seeing what he's got to tell us about his Nationals and bowls life.
Yeah, you could argue it was a very successful Nationals, but you could also argue that it was a heartbreaking Nationals, and we'll find out a little bit more later.
Okay, Tony, it's really good to have you on this show, this episode too, sort of fresh off the back of the Somerset Nationals, and we want to get your thoughts and feelings. You had quite a good Nationals. You played a singles final and a pairs final, but you didn't manage to come out winner of either of those. We're just wondering how you felt.
Listen, mate, it's been quite tough up in Auckland, with lockdown and all that, and the lack of competition bowls that we've been playing, and if anyone said that I'd be in 2 finals at Nationals, I'd take that any day of the week. So I'm happy, with the limited time that we had, that I've had to prepare. I wouldn't have any regrets or no, there's no ifs, no whys. It's, I'm just happy with the way things went.
Tony, on reflection, is there anything that you could have done differently that might have given you the edge?
I just think more competition bowls if we weren't in lockdown, it's, when I played the first day of the singles, it was my 3rd full day of bowls, since, for about 4 months, 5 months?
It was a while, 107 days or something ridiculous.
And I think I just played, I played the Battle of the Bridge for Auckland, and also just a hand tournament at Birkenhead, and that was it. That was my only competition games until I got together with a guy from Birkenhead, and we trained. Well, I just had a game of singles against him every day leading up to Nationals, so that's all I had before Nationals. So it was very limited.
So it's not a bad Nationals.
For me, I think it was a great Nationals.
So you've just come off the back, so you're in the Koru Lounge at the moment, aren't you, Tony, talking to us, which is very nice. You just played at Burnside this weekend. How did you go?
I felt it went good. There's still some work ons to do, but overall I think I was pretty solid for Mike, which was quite good. He got a bit grumpy with me with my jack throwing, but we managed to get out of it, which was good.
It must have been nice to sort of knock the final off at a Burnside club, the same place that we played the Nationals.
Yeah. I was going into that saying to myself, I don't want to be a 3-time loser. So, it's actually really good to get over the line, and regardless of the score in that final, it didn't reflect the bowls that were played in that game.
Now, you were out for quite a while, weren't you, Tony, with a shoulder injury, I believe, and that must have been putting you into a bit of a dark place, I'd imagine, loving your bowls and then suddenly being out of contention and also getting dropped after the Commonwealth Games.
Yeah, well, before that Commonwealth Games, I played in the Trans-Tasman, and I thought to myself, I went okay, but it's all in the selector's hands. You can't say that you're going to be there, but out of that, the 9 games I played at Trans-Tasman, I was part of a team that won 7.5 out of 9. So the percentages are quite high. But for the shoulder, it was frustrating. the good thing about it was that I'd already planned to book my tickets to the Nelson Fours, also North East Valley Singles. So I just turned up there anyway in a sling and just supported the boys and had a good weekend. It was like, so I still had the belief that I know that I'm going to get out of the shoulder operation, as long as I put the hard work and do the right things, don't overdo things. And, and it's come out and it's perfect. There's no issues whatsoever.
Good to hear that being in that environment, and I think bowls does that, doesn't it? That you were sort of spiritually uplifted by just being in the company of people that you've known for a long time and you get on well with. I was just wondering, did you ever contemplate thinking, I could do this, I'll play left-handed?
Well, funny enough, I was in Dunedin with my partner Loz, and we caught up at Fairfield Bowling Club with his sister-in-law and her two daughters, which had just started playing bowls. So I was in a sling, still in the sling, and I gave her daughter a game of bowls left-handed. So
did you win, Tony?
Yes, I did.
Excellent.
But I actually drove quicker on my left hand than I did my right hand. But no, it was good just to keep the brain active. I think with bowls, because it's a very mental game, and you just got to keep all your rhythms going and all that, and try and sort of get through the tough times, and out the end comes a good time. So
yeah, that's great. So just sort of flicking back to the Nationals a little bit, you played Kelvin Scott in that singles final, and in the singles final speech, Kelvin piqued my interest because he was talking about the last time he played a singles final, he played you, and you won that game, and he reckoned that he had you dead and buried. I was wondering if you could just sort of recount quickly how that final went.
He had me dead and buried, and I just plugged away, just plugged away and just keep fighting, and that's what I did in the final against him. I got off to a bad start. The rink we played the semi-final on against Andrew Curtin, it was a tough rink. It was, it was an end rink as well, which was quite surprising to have a semi-final on an end rink. But it was a tough rink, and so at the start I took that rink into the final, which I didn't adapt quick enough. But, once I started sort of get going and trusting the line of the bowls and all that sort of stuff, when I got back to 18-14, I thought, well, I've got a chance here. It's, you never give up until the other guy gets to 21 or you get to 21. So, yeah.
The Burnside Club they've had a busy couple of weeks, haven't they? They hosted the Somerset Nationals and the Burnside Peers you just played in. What did you think of how they sort of acted as a headquarters for both of those events?
They were great. And again, I take my hat off to all the volunteers and that. They were, absolutely outstanding. They're always friendly. They're there to help you. The whole environment was great. You can't fault them. They do a great job. No matter what tournament you're playing, there's always a lot of helpers, a lot of volunteers around, and it's just, it's amazing.
Now you're back in the Tony. You're back in the Blackjacks squad now. You've got a trial coming up, I believe, on Waitangi Day. How's it feel being back in that environment, and B, do you fancy your chances?
Being back in the environment's amazing. Like the blackjack culture is great. Again, you surround yourself with good mates and that support you, and you get the love back for the game. And I'm not saying that I'm going to make the Com Games team or anything like that. I've got to put the hard work in and get out, tomorrow night and every night of the week, rain, hail or shine, and just throw bowls down and learn how to play on the slow stuff again.
Because you went to Glasgow, didn't you, Tony?
Yes.
How do you find that sort of, because it's quite a different game, isn't it? They run on sort of between 10 and 12 second greens compared to our nice greens. How do you find the change? It's
all about putting the hard work in. We've got to work hard for 3 or 4 months, just preparing and not playing on our surfaces, but playing on like Rocky Nook or croquet lawn, just to get the feel, just to get the rhythm. It's it's a different style of game. It's you're not drawing. You're playing through the jack all the time. So it's all about just sort of getting your bowls in the area without playing the New Zealand way of dead drawing.
Yeah, it's exciting. I'm so excited to see how you guys get on, and when we do send a team over there, I'm excited to see the Kiwis go, because we haven't won a medal in the men's side of that competition for a little while now.
It was in black and white, wasn't it, last time they won?
I think Mike Kernahan was the last one. Didn't he win a bronze in the singles?
Yeah, he did. He won a bronze in the singles.
Yeah.
I suppose it'll be a nice sort of full circle thing if he's a head coach and we can sort of come back with something would be good. You're the first one to answer this question, Tony, because you're the first one we're talking to, and I want to ask this of everybody because I reckon every bowler has something that they can respond to. I'm curious to know, like, you're halfway through a day of bowls and you're a bit peckish and you want a snack. What would your go-to snack be during a day of bowls?
Just a bit of fruit or banana. And try and keep away from the bread, and that sort of gets you through. You want to try and keep away from the stodgy stuff and all that, because it takes a while to digest. So you don't want to overdo your eating and do it at the right time.
Well, Tony, thank you so much for your time today. Well done on your Burnside victory and for two finals at the Nationals. And we wish you all the best to get into that side for the Commonwealth Games.
Thanks very much, Miles, and thanks, Alex.
Stay tuned now to hear from an octogenarian who's just been crowned a national champion. Welcome back to the Bowls Hour, brought to you by Somerset Retirement Villages and Dynasty Apparel. I'm with my co-host Alex Reid. Alex, fascinating what Tony Grantham was saying about it not eating too late and don't eat the stodgy stuff, that actually impacts on your performance. Yeah,
it's a good point. I wasn't expecting that answer. When I asked the question, I was looking for someone to tell me, they ate a banana and someone else to tell me they ate something else. So,
but apparently you've got a very sort of, diet-conscious little treat that you have.
Yeah, I'm all about the nutritional stuff. So I eat peanut M&Ms during bowls, Miles. That's my...
Hey, peanuts are good, mate.
That's what I say. And the cocoa's
exactly,
also good.
It is exactly. It's a bean, isn't it?
Yeah.
2 legumes. Because I think the peanut is not actually a nut, it's a legume.
So it's a win, but it's really a healthy treat.
It certainly is. So who have we got up next?
We've got Bev Morrell coming up next, who won the National Peers with Sandra Keith about a week ago, and I'm really looking forward to talking to her. She's an octogenarian, and she's won a national title, which I think is pretty.
I suppose we've got dispensation to actually mention her age, because a gentleman never really usually reveals.
Yes,
age.
I would have heard it from somewhere, I'm sure.
Yeah. Okie dokie.
If it doesn't work, I'll edit it out.
Let's get up to catch up with Bev.
Right, so we've got Bev here calling in from Christchurch, Bev Morrell calling in from Christchurch on the phone, which is great. And we're going to ask her a little bit about, or ask you, Bev, a little bit about the Somerset Nationals. You had some success in the Peers.
Yes, we did. Awesome.
That's good. So you played with Sandra Keith, and we did an interview with you after the Nationals, but it was sort of accidentally interrupted by the prize giving. So I thought I'll ask you some of the questions that we didn't get finished there. So you and Sandra, it was a first time pairing, was it?
Yes, it was the first time we played together. Yes, it was.
And can you just tell us, how did that come about?
Well, the last time I played for Canterbury, when I retired for the Reds, so I was in the team with Sandra. I wasn't playing with Sandra. I was in the pairs. I think she was in the fours. And I said to Sandra, look, I've got a bucket list, and one of on my bucket list is I'd like to play pairs with you. So we agreed that would be fine, and that was probably 10 years ago. And we'd never had the opportunity. And then this year I had, Sheree and I had agreed that we would go our separate ways, that she was ready possibly to go up the team, and I was getting to the stage where I thought probably I'm starting to get ready to go down in the team. So I didn't have anyone to play with, and I thought, Sandra played with Rebecca, and I thought, well, she's in Australia, she won't be able to come. So I thought she might be looking for a player. So I rang her and said, any chance of us two getting together? And she said, as it happens, yes. So that's what we did. I was a bit concerned because I hadn't led for 20 years. So I thought, I better go out and start practicing throwing the jack and drawing to the jack. And so that's how it all came about.
So, Bev, what was it about Sandra that attracted you, that thought, I'd like to play with her?
She's a super person and an amazing bowler, a legend as far as I'm concerned. And I thought that I would just love to have a game with her. It didn't matter what it was, whether it was nationals or any peers. I would just like to have a game with her. And that really was my motivation. I just thought, well, I'd love to have a game with Sandra.
Oh, that went okay.
It did. It went very well.
That's great. So that final that you and Sandra played against Claire and Taylor was it was an emphatic win. Can you just talk us through, before the final, did you and Sandra have a game plan against those two, and sort of how did that develop during the final?
No, we didn't have a game plan. I had a plan in my mind as skipping for so long. I said to myself right from when I first started practicing leading, my first bowl had to be behind the jack. So my plan was, I never told Sandra, this was in my own head, my plan was to have my first bowl behind the jack and to adjust my next bowl, hopefully, near the jack. And that's what I tried to do, because I didn't want to be leaving short bowls in the front and getting in everybody's way. That was the only plan I had at all during that game.
Oh, that's pretty sage advice, for any sort of prospective leads, as you put your first bowl past and it's easier to adjust back than it is to add stuff on.
Yes, it is, because 9 times out of 10 you'll over-adjust if you play short.
And you had, I noticed you had orange shirts, very orange shirts at the Nationals, and they matched your bowls, didn't they? Did you just think, right, we need to get a matching shirt, we'll get something orange from Kmart, or?
No, actually the shirt was nothing to do with me. That was Sandra's idea. She just said, I'll sort the shirts. I said, okay, that's fine. And then when she said they were orange, I was like, oh. And she said, I thought, they'd match your bowl. So I said, oh, that's cool. Okay, that's cool. We'll have orange shirts.
You're easy to spot.
Yes.
Now, Bev, normally as a gentleman, I wouldn't mention a lady's age, but I think it's well known in the bowls community that you've now notched up 80 magnificent years. How have you found your motor skills, your fitness? I mean, I'm a lot younger than you, but I struggle. If I put one bowl down, I struggle to stand back up again. How do you keep yourself in shape, and how are you feeling?
I walk virtually every day. Although since COVID, we've brought a treadmill and I use that every day. I also go and have a massage every 3 weeks. I have always kept myself fit. I practice probably 4 or 5 times a week. When I first started bowls, I used to practice every day. I used to work for half a day and then I'd go straight down to the bowling green and I would practice every day. And I still do practice, and for the Nationals I probably was the last 2 months was practicing 4 to 5 days a week. So that's really what I do. I just keep myself fit and I love the game. I love it participating with anybody, and that's how I keep myself fit.
That's fantastic. Great advice for everyone as well. Just keep active. And I was just wondering as well, though, there's a lot of youngsters coming into the game and being very successful at it, which is great for bowls. But how did it feel, putting one in there for the oldies, so that the sort of older generation of bowlers don't get forgotten?
Well, it's just, for me, anybody can play bowls, regardless of their age. And you can all play good bowls. It's not just the young ones that can play good bowls. There's a lot of older over 60s who are fantastic bowlers. I've only got to play in the over 60s and come across amazing over 60s bowlers. It's quite often it's a mindset. It's in your brain that I'm convinced that no matter what, I can go out there and win. I'm never negative. I'm very positive. And I also accept that I'm going to get beaten, and I accept that gracefully. So I think I want the older generation to realise that they can play bowls, regardless of age, fitness, anything. It's a game that anybody, an older generation, can play and enjoy.
That's the great thing about the sport, isn't it? And the diversity of the people who can play and compete. So this title, this most recent title, is not your first one. I think it's your fourth, Bev.
Yes, it is.
How did that match up against the other three that you have? How did it feel?
Oh, it felt great. There's only one that really stands out, but that this would probably be the next one. They are all special because you're playing with a partner, and so it's really special and very important to me that I don't let my partner down. So for me, really, they're all very special.
The other question I was going to ask, so we had our Somerset Nationals and it was hosted by the Burnside Bowling Club. What did you think of them as a headquarters?
Oh, excellent. Absolutely excellent. Yes. And the greens were magnificent.
Awesome. Okay, well, we've got one more question. I've got one more question that I want to pose, Bev, and we've had an answer already, and we're going to ask everyone we talk to this question. It's a very important question. You're halfway through a day of bowls, so picture you're halfway through a day of bowls, and you feel a bit peckish, and you want a snack. What's your go-to snack?
Oh, halfway through a game of bowls?
Yeah, you're halfway through.
I never snack halfway through a game. I drink water or Powerade, but I never snack during a game. I know a lot of people do, but I don't. I don't do that. I don't like to be, and when I play bowls, I don't like to eat too much beforehand.
Yeah, cool. Good answer.
Can't argue with that. Whatever it is that you're doing, Bev, it certainly works. I'd like to thank you so much for your time, Bev Morrell. Congratulations on your championship. And I'll tell you what, I'm looking forward to you going back and repeating it next year.
Well, so am I.
There
so
you go.
That's if I'm still around.
Of course you will be. Don't talk like that, Bev Morrell. You're indestructible. There we go. That's Bev Morrell, who won her fourth national title, winning the pairs with Sandra Keith, and something that she was really looking forward to. Now, after the break, we're going to talk to Selena Goddard as we continue to review the Somerset National singles and pairs. Welcome back to the Bowls Hour, brought to you by Somerset Retirement Villages and Dynasty Apparel. We had a good old chat. I enjoyed that chat with Bev Morrell, 80 years old, fourth-time champion. Yeah. It's magnificent.
And some real pearls of wisdom as well. I know if you've got a pen and paper and write down some of the nuggets she gave you as a leader or a player, I think there's some really worthwhile stuff there from Bev.
And it just shows, she had that dream of playing with Sandra Keith, and it came to fruition, not just playing, but they go on and win the national title.
It's not bad.
You're never too old, they say. You're never too old. Right, our next guest, who is it? Come on, tell me.
Selena Goddard's the next guest.
Fantastic.
Miles. She's going to call all the way from Great Barrier Island. So that's a bit of commitment to the podcast there. And I'm looking forward to that chat. We'll just ask her a few questions about her Somerset Nationals and some upcoming things. We might hear her as a commentator for Bowls New Zealand soon as well. So.
Well, there you go. And she's at the other end of the spectrum from Bev Morrell.
Yeah, just a little bit younger. So, yeah, we'll talk to her shortly. Right, so we've got Selena Goddard on the line here all the way from Great Barrier, which I think is pretty impressive. And we're going to ask a few questions. So I thought the first question I'd ask Selena is, how was your Nationals in Christchurch?
Oh, it was so great to be down in Christchurch, considering it was looking a bit debatable for a wee while there. So, yeah, having the Nationals singles and pairs was great. Played with Amy McElroy in the pairs, and it was awesome to pair up with Amy again. we'd paired for a few years prior before her beautiful children arrived. So we always have a really good time out on the greens. And then, had solo battle in the singles, which is always a good measure to see where you're up against with everybody else. But sort of a bit of a personal goal for me was just to get out there and have some competition time, since I've been lacking that in the sort of half end of 2021.
We were talking to Tony Grantham earlier, and he was talking about that as well, wasn't he, Miles? About the amount of time that we haven't had as Aucklanders actually playing bowls. And I think he'd played a ham tournament and one other event before the Nationals as a lead-up. So, yeah, how good was it to have? I watched your game, Selena, your semi-final against Taylor Bruce at the singles. That was a pretty good game of bowls, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, Taylor is such a quality opposition and teammate and friend. You know, whenever you play someone like Taylor, she's always going to put up a really good game. And I think for both of us, when it comes to the semi-final, finals day, you just really hope to have a good performance and, hope the conditions are going your way. And honestly, we just couldn't have asked for a better morning for it. The green was playing beautiful. There was a little breeze, but not much that was affecting the bowls. And because of that, we were both just able to play some really quality shots and have a really close game. And that's what happened. And yeah, it was great for the viewers. It was one of those games where it was all evens for a bit, and then Taylor got ahead, and then I came back, and then it came to the last end and the last bowl. So, yeah, if you were there watching, it was definitely one that, everybody enjoyed to see from what I heard after the game.
Now, Selena, you mentioned you get back to playing with Amy again. What was it like getting back? Did it take a while to get the sort of chemistry going again, or was it just like you'd never been apart?
Honestly, chemistry was absolutely the same. Amy and I have, been in touch all those years too. We've just got quite a special friendship. If anything, I have to apologise to Amy because I was making all of those mistakes that I typically do at the beginning of a season, like choking up on words when I'm calling a shot and, just getting my head back into the competition mode. And so poor Amy, she definitely had a few sore shoulders at some point. But, yeah, we've got a great friendship and, she's got my back, I've got hers. And so just had a really great time out there with her.
How hard is it? I mean, especially we had the lockdown here. We've already mentioned that you're lacking the competition that a lot of the other people in the country could get, but also pairing up with someone who lives in a different place to you that you haven't been able to sort of, I wouldn't imagine, play tournaments together. How tough is that?
That part of it is not so tough in the sense of playing with someone that isn't in the same city as you. So I think that Amy and I, we did a lot of groundwork in terms of compatibility and understanding each other back when we were in the New Zealand team together. So, both of us went to Glasgow and as you might know, heading over to an event such as that, you do a lot of work together as a team and, understand how each other talk to each other and react to comments and how we can help each other get the better out of each other. If anything, I guess just the time apart was more just the lack of competition and that competitive side of the game. So that's what I was lacking in. But Amy's been playing in quite a wee bit in the last year, really, like quite a lot. So, yeah, she definitely held the team together for a lot of that event.
That's good, and that's a brilliant segue to the next sort of theme I was going to move to. Selena, you talked about you've been to the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow in the Northern Hemisphere before on those slow greens, and obviously you're in that wider New Zealand squad that's going to travel to Rocky Nook on Waitangi weekend for a trial. How's your preparation been for that?
Yeah, it's been quite tough and just sort of, getting used to the setbacks and the changes and the reschedules. And I think sort of everyone's each of their own in terms of how comfortable they are with croquet greens. So talking with some players, they can easily switch between croquet to quick greens, and other players need, a solid amount of time on croquet greens and then a solid amount of time on quick greens to just get used to what their goal is for the event coming up. So for me, I spent quite a lot of the lockdown time on croquet greens because I was in, I didn't have any events to prepare for in the near future. And then once it opened up a bit and the chance, it was looking quite likely to play in the Nationals, I then just hammered out a lot of, I say quick greens, but, New Zealand green practice for a couple of weeks. So I've got an event on this weekend, our Interclub 7. And then after that, I don't have anything on until Waitangi weekend. And I've done that just because it's a good opportunity to smash out a couple of weeks on the croquet, get familiar with the speed, get my delivery back to the speed of the croquet again, and then, just give it my best at the trials.
Selena, when you go onto the croquet lawns and you're practicing there, do you go on your own or do you drag other people along to sort of give you a bit of competition and sort of get bowls in the way?
It's a bit of both. So I would go alone to do things like practice my timing, do some drills just to make sure that my delivery is hitting the right line and that I can, get the bowl up and as far as I want and at the speed I want. Then I also have people come with me to help that tactical side. So, there's nothing better than playing against opposition bowls. So, if it's not me there, I'll have someone who can, get bowls up as well or place bowls for me to play into. Or I have my coach Graham there as well to monitor my delivery as well and let me know if there's any sort of creepies coming in.
So we're going to sort of segue vaguely away from the bowls now, and you're obviously talking to us on this podcast, but I've heard it in the woodwork that you might be coming and doing some commentary gigs for us at Bowls New Zealand. So,
I've been given a great opportunity to work with Bowls New Zealand and provide some commentary. So this is for a product that'll be on Sky Sports. So it'll be of events that Bowls New Zealand are live streaming. So I'll be coming in sort of after the event and then, commentating with Alex Reid. And you'll probably know better than me off the top of the head the other man who will be commentating with us. Just slipped from my head because I don't have my phone with me. Yeah.
Aaron White is his name, and he's got a background. I think he's a race caller.
Awesome. Yeah. So the idea is to, I think Bowls New Zealand are quite keen to have a bit of tactical knowledge brought into the commentary, and so it'll be quite great being a part of it and attending these events. I feel like I'll be able to sort of speak in a sense of I do know the results, but also I actually didn't watch many of the games myself. So what I will be seeing will be new to me. So we'll get some live reactions and have a bit of story time, which will be awesome.
Yeah, I'm personally quite excited for that. I think we're going to make a really cool product for people.
I think you'll be fantastic, Selena, and I've already worked with Alex doing it, and I know that he knows his stuff, and I think the pair of you will be a great combo.
Oh, thanks,
Miles. You can stay, Miles.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Hey.
Can we do a phone a friend while we're on the commentary?
We might have to work on that. I'll ask Tamara. So the last thing, or the last question I was going to ask, we've asked everyone else this, Bev and Tony, and it's an interesting question, I think, and it's an important one. So you're halfway through a day of bowls, a game of bowls, and you feel a bit peckish. What's your favourite snack?
Oh... So I'm going to have to say that my favourite snack, okay, I can't go past a Sammy, but I have to say like a sandwich, but I have to say that for some reason, whatever it is club members put in their sandwiches specifically, there's some sort of magic in them. Like they can put in egg, lettuce, tomato, ham, chicken. They just load these things up. So I can't go past buying a sandwich from the club that they've made and snacking on that in the middle of the day. Definitely fills the spot.
Nothing like patronising the local club, giving them a bit of your hard-earned money, Selena. Thank you so much for your time. We look forward to hearing you on the commentary, and good luck in the trials at Rocky Nook.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Selena Goddard there, and she will be a fantastic addition to the commentary team. Next up, and I'm really fascinated to hear this, we're going to be talking to a national champion in curling. Welcome back to the Bowls Hour, brought to you by Somerset Retirement Villages and Dynasty Apparel. We just had a great chat with Selena Goddard, Alex. I mean, she's a top player. She's still very, very young, but very successful. I mean, she's a real battler and a competitor, isn't she?
Yeah, she is, and she had a lot of interesting bits and pieces to say, did Selena. I wish her all the best for the upcoming trial at Waitangi weekend. I think we'll see her go pretty well there.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. I'm a bit intrigued, though, by our next guest. I mean, I thought this was a bowls show, but now you're introducing curling.
Yeah, it's bowls on ice. So we'll call it, it's a similar sport, isn't it, Miles? And they do play bowls now. We're going to have a chat to Chelsea Farley, who plays out of the Balmoral Club in Auckland, about how her nationals went. They had a good run in the pairs, but mainly, or known first as a New Zealand representative in curling.
I'm looking forward to it.
Right, so we've got Chelsea Farley here on the phone now, Miles, former New Zealand representative in curling. And the first question I want to ask you, Chelsea, is how did your nationals go in Christchurch?
I was pretty happy with how the nationals went in Christchurch. We didn't do too much preparation because we're in lockdown here in Auckland. And it's been quite a quiet year for me, having had a child recently. But yeah, we did well. We got further than we expected.
So you had a really close quarterfinal, didn't you, in the women's pairs?
Yeah, we'd never qualified in the pairs, so we weren't expecting to do too well. But and we got quite down in that game, but we sort of hung in there, and things changed, and we sort of got a few shots, and things went quite well at the end, but didn't quite get there.
What's it like? I've got to ask you, Chelsea, playing with your sister. I mean, I've got sisters and brothers, and we love each other dearly, but there are moments of creative tension between us. How do you two get on?
Yeah, we've played together competitively in other sports before, so we're kind of used to sort of dealing with each other in high-pressure situations. We know we're not like the most prepared team out there, and we sort of know where each other's at, so we're not too phased if people miss shots.
Not too phased?
No.
Okay.
Which one of you is more phased than the other?
Probably the one that's playing better on the day.
That's a good answer to that question. So we've mentioned in the build-up that you and Tessa both represented New Zealand in curling. So I know it's bowls on ice, but you go to a curling nationals versus going to a bowls nationals. What's the difference? How is it different?
So with curling, there's a lot less teams. So in the women, there are probably about 2, 3, or maybe 4 teams competing for a national title. And in bowls, there's so many more.
I'm fascinated. How did you get into curling? Like, being in Auckland, when I associate it with sort of Central Otago and the mainland, how did you get involved in it up here?
So I went to Epsom Girls Grammar, and there was a teacher there that was in the senior New Zealand women's team, and she promoted it. And I thought, curling would be kind of something cool to do. And that was my first year of high school. But my mum was like, no, don't do curling, do fencing. That would be much more exciting. I tried fencing. I hated hitting people. It just wasn't for me. So the next year it was the Winter Olympics, and New Zealand actually had a team that year. So it was 2006. And from there I sort of watched a bit, and I was like, no, I definitely want to try curling. So I tried it. I was absolutely hopeless at it. And we just sort of kept going for a few years, and we eventually got good enough to make the team.
That's awesome. So if there's anyone out there who wants to play curling in Auckland, what do they have to do? What's the best thing for them?
So if there's schools, I think just visit the curling.org.nz website. There'll be a little bit of information on the have a go nights that there are. If there's a school, then they need a teacher in charge, I think. And if they're not in schools, they can just go to a have a go night, and the club will put them in a team, or they can form a team with friends.
What do you think, this is, fascinates me, but what do you think is harder to play well, curling or bowls?
Bowls is definitely harder to play well. With curling, there's just a little bit less factors. So, for one thing, you've got the sweepers who can help you out if you mess up something just a little bit, so they can keep the stone a bit straighter, or they can carry it on for further if you're a bit slow. And there's also less sort of outside conditions with bowls. You've got the wind, you've got rain. With curling, it's sort of, the ice changes a bit over the time that you're on it, but it's usually pretty predictable.
Yeah, I often really wish there was someone with a curling broom when I play bowls. try to get the bowl to go that little bit further. So yeah, you guys, you've played curling for New Zealand. How long did your career last in that, and what made you decide to make that switch from bowls on ice to bowls?
So I think I last competed for New Zealand in either 2015 or 2016, and I started in 2011. So about 5 years. I switched because I used to go down to Nazy during the summer holidays and spend my summers there curling and practicing. But when I started working, I couldn't do that. And so I wasn't really improving. So it made sense to sort of switch to something that I could actually work on and improve.
And did bowls how did the bowls thing happen? Were you thinking, I want to get a sport that's similar to the one I play, or was it another reason?
So I'd seen bowls a few times and I'd kind of wanted to give it a try. But my dad had said, I'm not playing bowls until I retire. And so he retired and he did actually pick up bowls. But I was just a sort of casual that first year, not really, I was quite busy and not really wanting to play. But then the next year I had a bit of time free up, and so I just got into it a bit more. I didn't even know there were like Auckland events that year really until I think maybe March-ish, so partway through the season. And then I started entering everything. From there, my sister realised she wasn't seeing us at all because we were always at bowls. And when we got home, we'd talk about bowls. So then she decided to join the following year.
That's a great reason to join a bowling club, isn't it? Not seeing your family. So you've had a bit of success as well in the bowling stakes. You guys have won a couple of centre titles. Does it feel similar? Like, is it when you make a final in a say your first major final you played in a bowls event? What were your emotions in that? Was it like, oh, I've done curling before, it's all good, or was there stress?
I don't really feel like pressure in general. If I do, it'll be like after I've bowled my bowls, so it's quite good. It's like, oh, there's nothing more I can do. So it'll usually be the last end, and after I've bowled my bowls, when it's down to the opposition, that's when I feel nervous. Maybe a little bit, but like it's sort of nerves I can channel into focus more than anything.
What are your ambitions, Chelsea? I mean, you're a competitive person by the sound of it. Have you got your sight set on the Nationals, or even do you see yourself in the Blackjacks in the near future?
No, I don't think I really see myself getting that way. I'm enjoying the bowls, but I've got a young family now and I've got other focuses. I've got so much to focus on. My time's kind of spread a bit thin to really put energy into that sort of thing. I don't think I'd be able to commit to anything like that. No,
you've got plenty of time. We just had an 80-year-old win the national pairs, so there's plenty of time for that. Okay, I've got a couple of. We've been asking a question of everyone who we've had on this podcast today, and they've been interesting answers, and it's a really important question. So you need to think long and hard about it. But if you put yourself in the shoes of someone who's mid-game of bowls, halfway through the day, and you get a bit peckish and you feel like having a snack, what's your go-to snack at bowls?
It's
a big question.
That is a big question. Maybe just like a handful of nuts. I kind of like quite snacking on nuts. Tessa will have like a spoonful of peanut butter quite often. She'll have a jar of peanut butter in her bag.
A spoonful of peanut butter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you ever dig your spoon into her jar, or doesn't she allow you?
No, she doesn't. It's her lucky spoon of peanut butter or something like that.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thanks so much for your time, Chelsea. Congratulations on the family. I'm sure it'll be just as challenging, but much more rewarding than curling or bowls. And maybe a little way down the track, we might see you in a Blackjacks jersey.
Maybe. Thank you.
That was Chelsea of Farley there, former national curling champion, and made it to the quarter-finals of the pairs with her sister at the Somerset Nationals this year. Well, I've really enjoyed it, mate. I've enjoyed it tonight. And it's a really good range of guests that you managed to sort out. I did nothing except just turn up.
Oh, you did that well, Miles. But no, it's been great. It's been a great chat, sort of reviewing the Somerset Nationals that we've just had in Christchurch. You know, as a lot of the Aucklanders said, there was a long time there where it looked like, you know, we were going to have a Somerset Nationals, and if we did have a Somerset Nationals,
there'd be no Aucklanders.
Yeah, who'd be able to go. So.
And Aucklanders didn't do too badly, though, did they?
No, I'm quite pleased. I mean, I'm not an Aucklander.
No, neither am I.
I've lived here for long enough that I sort of have a vague affinity for the area. And I was quite pleased with how the Aucklanders went. I was interested to see with that break, and we asked in that first podcast we did, how we thought the Aucklanders might go, and I would say it's fair to say they've exceeded expectations.
Yeah, very well done indeed. And I think you've exceeded expectations today. Well done, young man.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us for this episode of the Bowls Hour. It's great to be back for 2022, and we're looking forward to bringing you weekly updates on the bowls world and those contained within.
They were rampaging along, won their first 2 games. They've lost their last 2, but they could have probably won both of them.
Fantastic looking facility there in the deep south.
I'm sure they're going to come out firing tonight.
From memory, he was leading last week. Are you going to be leading this week, or
From bottom with 6 points and second from bottom with 3.
yes and no?
Yes and no. It paid off for them. They got a 2, double the 4 and won 6 points.